What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another
Hi.
episode of the Magic Dads podcast here on the Old Cranky Man Collectibles channel. My name is Rugley, joined here today by my co-host and best friend, Penty Het. What is up,
Hi, hello.
my dude? How are you?
I'm here to talk about magic.
Oh man, it's our favorite thing among
So
favorite
funny.
things.
Very few things replace that.
So this episode comes out the Monday before the very last Lawnlander Championship Series qualifier of
Yeah.
2024. This is our fall Lawnlander update. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. And
hmm
first up, I want to get started with you, sir. Got another top four finish with your beloved mono green beatdown Canadian Highlander deck. So yeah, there was a tournament at Mayhem. What was that date? When did that happen?
It was as of the date of recording. It was the prior Saturday, so
So
the seventh. The seventh.
September 7th. Sweet. Top
Yeah.
four finish with mono green. That tournament was won by Travis Wilcoxon playing
Who?
medium white. Yeah, if you've been to this channel before, you should be no stranger to Travis Wilcoxon. Congratulations, taking home
Well
that
done,
cash
friend.
prize there. Amongst the
Yeah.
other top four competitors, it was a smaller tournament, 16, 17 players, something like that, right?
16. Yeah. No buys. 16.
So
16 in.
yeah, so just cut to a top four then, not a top eight. We had it's like Blue Moon, Blue Red Aggro, Blue Red Wizards. Calvin
Yeah.
playing the Blue Red aggro deck, a very burn heavy Blue Red deck. And
Yeah. Sort of a
then
blue burn style.
yeah, and then Sean O'Dean playing Mono Red Goblins, who, again, if you've been to this channel before, Mono Red Goblins shouldn't be a stranger. So, Stefan, congratulations on the top four finish. You've had a really,
Thanks,
really
man.
good run with this Mono Green deck. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your tournament experience?
It was great. A big shout out to James for putting it on for us. It was the same day as their GP. So they run these GPs every once in a while. They're pretty successful. And on the day, it was only 16 players because there was a bunch of players in the modern tournament the same day. There's a modern qualifier running literally parallel in room. I could see Luke from where I was sitting.
Mm.
But still 16's pretty good. Round one, I played against Joe. He was on, if you haven't seen his slot machine deck,
Yeah,
uh,
hold on. Go check out
pretty,
Joe's YouTube channel. I will link
yeah,
it
it's,
down in the description. Equinox makes some really good quality Canadian Highlander tournament
yes.
content. So carry on, Stefan. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's just such a rad deck. He and I had a blast in round one, just kind of going at it. I took it in two, but then we played like a for fun game, and his deck like went off and destroyed me.
Yeah. So
Um,
if you haven't seen it before, this slot machine deck is like a five color like chaos combo deck, I guess is what you would
yeah,
call it. Like, he's got a bunch of
Cascade
cards
and
that he can
Discover.
cascade into, and like the deck is set up to just do random stuff. But sometimes like it cascades into a cascader, and it cascades into a cascade into a cascade until eventually you just hit
Mhm.
an ancestral vision and draw three cards with your five creatures in play or whatever. Like the deck,
Yeah,
the deck could produce some pretty insane board states. So
yeah. There was one point he had played Possibility Storm,
possibility storm, sure.
and I had a I had a what is it, a library, what is the green enchantment,
Oh, it is Sylvan Library.
Sylvan Library.
Yeah.
I had a Sylvan Library out, so every turn I was drawing three, stacking the top of my deck,
Oh, nice.
and then like casting a one mana dork and going, oops, it's a Thrun.
Oh, sweet.
He still won that game. That was our for fun game, and he just like ended up.
How? That's
It was
crazy.
rad. It was so cool.
Hell yeah.
Next game was against Zoe. Obviously, if you're familiar with,
Yeah.
not if you're not a stranger, you know Zoe. She was on her traditional four color blood. Ended up winning that match. Had had some pretty clutch protection spells
Sweet.
for her removal. Lined up very well. Round three was against Travis on Death and Travis. He
Death Travis.
Yeah, he took me down in two.
Oh,
They were
just
good
just
games.
cleaned up, huh?
Yeah, he hadn't dropped a game that day. I also hadn't dropped a game that day, so it
Sick.
was sort of like two 4-0s running at each other, and
Right.
like I
Top of the standings.
misplayed. Yeah, I misplayed at 2 points in each game, and he just dogpiled me from there.
Yeah,
It was just really good magic, and he's such a good player that, like, he capitalized on I don't even know if I would necessarily categorize them as misplays. They were kind of greedy,
sure.
and that sort of allowed him to play around me. He's so good at his deck.
Yeah,
Um, and then in round 4, I played against Zach, who was on like sort of a traditional Blue Moon build, 1 and 2 on that.
nice.
Yeah, so I was my only loss was to the top seeded player, so I was pretty easy in the top 4.
Yeah.
Um, and then next to literally all day, Ryan Brown was my buddy sitting next to me, and I still and I never asked him what he was playing. I just assumed he was on like one of his traditional decks. He was on something completely new, and so I was just feeding misinformation to people around
Oh,
me
perfect.
without
I
thinking
love
about
that
it.
so much.
I
He
was
was
just like, yeah, he's on like a Nadu thing.
he was just eating that up too.
Oh, he loved it. He loved it. He told
Yeah,
me later, he's like, I
tell
feel
him
like a jerk.
yeah, tell him I'm playing cards that I'm not playing. Go right ahead.
No, it was so funny afterwards because he's like, no, I wasn't on that deck at all. And I'm like, well, I wasn't paying attention. I was kind of in my own world.
So 3-1 into the top 8. The
Yeah, or
top
top
4,
4.
sorry.
Yeah, and then Calvin was on like this blue burn deck,
Mhm.
playing playing Ponder and Lava Spike in the same deck. Very
Sick.
much felt like the popper red blue fairies almost.
Oh,
He
sure.
actually played Spell Stutter Sprite in the deck.
Sick. Love that
He
card.
ended up taking it in 3. He and Travis actually drew in for the top 4.
Sure.
Um, and then Travis was playing against Sean in
Right.
the semis as well, and so Sean and I both lost out in our semifinal matches, and it was a lot of fun. It was
Oh,
like
but
it was
still,
rad.
another top 4 finish, another notch in the belt. Yeah, that's good work,
Yeah,
man. Congratulations again.
thanks.
So, yeah, like I said at the beginning of the episode, this weekend is the final Lawnlander Championship Series qualifier for 2024, and the new set Duskmourn is going to be legal for this tournament. So Stefan and I both picked out a couple of cards from the new set that we think might have an impact on the format. Stefan, why don't you give me one of your cards?
So notably, we are including the Commander set in
Because
this
they're
as
legal
well,
in Canadian Highlander.
because they're legal in Canadian Highlanders. So like we're not just talking about the base set. Although this first one is from the base set, this card immediately caught my attention. It's called Sporogenic Infection.
Okay,
We don't run a lot of edicts in our format. I think Shieldred's edict is sort of the only one that has seen a lot of play, or like some amount of play.
Mhm.
Black is sort of on a downswing right now. I
Yeah,
haven't seen a lot of it. But Sporogenic Infection is an aura, just a creature enchantment for 2 mana, 1 and a black.
yep,
So already you're like thinking, okay, what kind of synergies can you run with enchantments? Because it's obviously an enchantment.
sure.
It says when it enters the battlefield, when it enters, target player sacrifices a creature other than the enchanted creature.
Right.
So basically, if they have 2 creatures in play, you enchant one, they have to sacrifice the
The other
or
one.
vice versa.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It kind of adds a targeting aspect to the edict. You know, if they do only have
Yes.
2 creatures in play, you get to pick which one they have to sacrifice, which is super duper
Yeah.
good. Not only that, but this is just 2 mana to make them sacrifice a creature, which is the going rate for an edict. So,
Yeah,
but
and
that's
Shieldred's had some modality.
yeah, sure, but that's not it because the card has more text on it. What
No.
else does it do?
Yeah, it has additional text that says when enchanted creature is dealt damage, that's any damage, destroy it. So it gives everything that you have death touch
Yeah, it
against.
gives all
this
of your
creature.
creatures death touch against that creature specifically.
Yeah,
So
you just have to poke it.
yeah, I think that black has a lot of really, really good removal spells in it. But I think that they run out pretty quickly. Whereas like
Yeah,
white's removal in Canadian Highlander, that list tends to go on and on and on and on. And
yeah.
black has about 6, maybe 7 really, really good ones. And then after that, it gets a little bit weird. So I also
Yeah.
picked out. Sorry, was there more about that card?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I also picked out a removal spell as one of mine. I picked out Unwanted Remake. This is a new 1 mana, white mana instant speed removal spell. So, right up there with Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares. These are both cards that are legal in all of the Eternal formats. It's something that is not does not exist in Pioneer, a 1 mana white removal spell. And
Yeah.
so this card says destroy target creature. Its controller manifests dread. And if you don't know what manifest dread is you look at the top 2 cards of your library. One of them goes to the graveyard. One of them goes face down as a 2/2.
Yep.
So basically, this one white mana instant speed removal spell will turn anything into a 2/2 morph.
Yep.
Is essentially what it does. And so, like this card, I would put it pretty far above Get Lost. If I was, if I was looking to like order the how good the removal spells in Canadian Highlander are, I would put this card above Get Lost. So it's still well down below Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, March of Otherworldly Light, Solitude, things like that. But I think that
Yeah.
it is a very, very good card, and I would not be surprised if it shows up in several decks on Saturday.
Oh yeah. It only targets creatures, but I don't know if you know this, but those are the things that will kill you the fastest.
Yeah, typically. Yeah, so
Especially
maybe,
if you're in a control
yeah,
situation.
so maybe not quite as flexible as Get Lost in that in that way, but you are right. It kills the creatures, and also it only costs 1 mana, and that's half the
Yeah,
mana
that's
of
the
Get
big
Lost.
part.
So yeah,
It's sort of a lot of people joke about like, 2 mana is a lot more than 1 because it's double.
hmm
But that's not like that's just so true.
it is.
Like
Yes.
2 mana cuts off so much of what you can do in a turn
Yeah,
over
a
1
lot
mana.
of games will get to a point where one player casts 2 spells in one turn, and they
Yeah.
immediately start to get ahead very, very quickly.
What's funny is that this is just so we talked about we talked about uh, removal spells in black sort of not being great, and then 2 mana being much better than 1 mana, or 1 mana being much better than 2 mana rather. I have another black removal spell that I really like. It's Withering Torment. It's a this is a 3 mana removal spell,
Okay.
and it says it's in black, 2 in black, destroy target creature or enchantment. You lose 2 life.
Oh, this
Um,
card. Yes.
this card, yeah, it destroys a creature, which black is good at. It's relatively in line. It's instant speed. The fact that it can blow up an Urza Saga is so important.
Okay, hold on. Do you really think that this effect is worth 3 mana? You think this card is going to get played in Canadian Highlander?
Okay. So I think it goes in a very specific deck, and
Yeah,
that's like the
Spencer's deck.
Mardu Spellslinger.
Oh,
I don't even know that it wants to go in a mono black deck. It's so pip light that it kind of just goes, okay, where can I fit in that wants to cast spells, that wants modality? And I think it's like a Mardu Spellslinger deck.
huh. That's interesting. Like the Mardu
Like
Pyromancer
Mardu
deck.
Pyromancer. Yes.
It's
And
like
that's sort of like
this
the
card
only
is
place for it.
good. This card is good, but it's like it's not Colligan's Command. You know what I mean? Like Colligan's
Yeah.
Command is just insane. I don't know how many 3 mana spells can you play in a Mardu spellcaster deck. Excuse me,
It does feel more like a cube card than anything.
Sure.
But I immediately saw it and I was like, this is interesting that we are getting more effects in black that just deal with enchantments.
Yeah.
What the one of the biggest things, and this is something that sort of I learned playing against Luke a lot, is that the effect of having additional targets in a color that you don't normally have additional targets for, especially black, where it's generally just creature or planeswalker sometimes,
Sure.
is often worth it just to have that ability to pick a different mode.
Yeah, modality is super duper important. Okay,
Mhm.
my next card is Razorkin Needlehead. So, mono red has been eating really, really well in the last couple of
Oh
sets,
yeah.
but I think that this card is one of the best mono red creatures that's been like mono red aggro style creatures that's been printed in a long time because it's literally 2 mana Shieldred. So Razorkin Needlehead is red for a 2/2. It has first strike during your turn. Okay.
Okay.
Whenever an opponent draws a card, Razorkin Needlehead deals 1 damage to them. This card is bananas.
It's just Children's little brother.
Yeah, man, this card is going to deal me so much damage. And to be clear, I dislike playing against the bird deck because I always lose to that deck no matter what I'm playing because it's just the style of decks that I like to play. And so
Yeah.
a Fire Blast, which is one of my most hated Magic cards of all time, will kill me in 10 out of 10 games.
Yeah, this is true. You've died to Fire Blast a lot, probably more than me.
Well, historically, not just in Canadian Highlander,
Yeah, in
either,
Pauper.
because I played against that card in Pauper. I played against
Yeah.
that card in Standard. I'm so over it. I mean, I've played against it
Yeah.
in Legacy as well. Like, no matter what format I'm playing, no matter what deck I'm playing, I guarantee you that a Fire Blast will end the game.
They really went hard with Fire Blast, and I'm glad that they won't ever reprint that into a standard set. Don't ever put it in Modern. Leave it out. Yeah, it's a gross card.
So
And
anyway,
this is sort of like
back to Razorkin Needlehead.
Yeah.
So this card it's a 2/2 for 2. Now listen,
Yeah.
a bunch of these mono red players are going to say something like it doesn't have haste, which is true, and that's really really important, and I understand that. But the fact that it sort of has haste because as soon as you pass the turn, it deals 1 damage to your opponent. Does it really not have haste?
And it's sort of unblockable in terms of like the fact that it says on your turn only doesn't matter.
So well, this is that old adage where it's like the card is telling you how to play it.
Yeah, there it is.
So turn this card sideways. It has first strike. It doesn't trade with 2 toughness creatures. You know what I mean? Like it's harder to kill than a 2/2 that doesn't have first strike.
Yeah. If they trade a Thalia for this, you're feeling great.
Oh boy!
Like if they block with a Thalia, you're like, cool, good.
Get that thing out of here.
We've made an appropriate exchange of resources.
Yeah, I think that card's insane. So, what's your next card, Stefan?
I have to look up this next card because it is not posted anywhere. There's so many good cards in this. But
this one is from the Commander set, right?
It's from the Commander set.
It's
called Formless Genesis.
We were just talking about this card.
Yeah. It was going to be a different card. It was going to be another black card with Miracle. Another black Miracle. But Formless Genesis, likely more important and more impactful. It's a 3-mana sorcery. It's a Kindred shape changer. So this is one of the first Kindred cards we've seen after they changed the typing on it. So it is important that it does have 2 types on it for purposes of like Delirium, right?
Right.
So 2 and a green, Shapeshifter, Changeling. Create an XX colorless Shapeshifter creature token with Changeling and Death Touch, where X is the number of land cards in your graveyard. Keep in mind, it sets that X at the time that you cast this. So they can respond by exiling your graveyard, and then the token dies. And then the Formless Genesis goes into your graveyard, and you're thinking, oh, why does that matter? It has Retrace.
Yeah.
You get to cast it again and again by pitching lands to it. Keeping in mind that pitching land is part of the cost, and the land is in the graveyard when this goes on the stack.
Yeah. So it's like super powered Worm Harvest, like in my opinion. So they power prep Worm Harvest. Worm Harvest is 5 mana, right?
Like 2 and like triple pipped.
Maybe it's only 4 mana. It's hybrid Golgari.
It's a lot.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And it makes X 1/1 worm tokens, where X is the number of lands in your graveyard. That's what it does, right?
Yes.
So and then it also has Retrace. So this is just 3 mana. It's 3 mana and it makes an XX. It makes an XX with Death Touch. And
it is 5 mana. 2 Golgari.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Golgari.
And you get to keep doing it over and over and over again.
Obviously, it's a sorcery, so you can't just like fire it off at the end of their turn. You kind of have to dedicate your entire turn to it. It goes in a couple of different decks. They're sort of trying to juice up lands a bit right now, especially with the downpointing.
Yeah, I agree. It is a very sweet card in lands.
And it sort of assists with some of their plays there, especially the what is that land, the green land that turns into things if you have Delirium.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Shifting
woodland.
Yeah. So I think it slots into something. I don't know if it recreates the wheel, but it's just another payload card.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely
I
juices up
like
the
it.
archetype. So, my last card is Valgavoth Terror Eater. So this
Oh
is the
my god.
big bad of the set, right? This is Darth
Yep.
Vader. He is a 9 mana 9/9. So he's 6 and black black black. He has
Yep.
flying and lifelink and ward. Sacrifice 3 non-land permanents.
Yep.
And then he has a bunch of text. So bear with me. If a card you didn't control would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. During your turn, you may play cards exiled with Valgavoth. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than its mana cost. This
Hmm.
card is insane. And obviously, it goes into very few decks, Reanimator being the biggest
Yeah.
one. But I think this card is so nuts in the Reanimator deck. They put this card out on turn 2 or whatever. Every time a card goes into the graveyard. So if they play a card, so if they
Yeah.
mill a card, if they discard a card, they all go underneath Valgavoth. He does that
Mhm.
Dothy Voidwalker thing. You know how Dothy
Yep.
Voidwalker sometimes lets you cast one spell? Well, Valgavoth
Yeah.
lets you cast all of them.
And just pay
So
life for it.
notably, you can also play lands because he
You
says,
can play lands, fetch
yes,
lands, yeah.
you may play cards exiled with Valgavoth. It does not say you may cast spells. It says you may play
Yeah.
cards exiled with Valgavoth. So, yeah, this card is absolutely insane, especially if you pair it with other stuff in black, like discard. You know, you can take the best card out of their hand,
Yeah.
whether that's a Seasoned Dungeoneer or a Path to Exile or a Brainstorm, or it doesn't matter what it is. Discard it out of their hand, and then you can cast it with Valgavoth. Yeah,
Would you pay 4 life for the initiative, Blake?
I would. Yes,
Oh well, yeah,
I would do
I
it
guess
twice, actually.
yeah.
That's better than
And then
drawing.
you
That's
just
better than drawing 7 cards with Grizzlebrand, and it's only one life less.
and you get to gaining 9 on a swing is better than gaining 7 on a swing. Sorry, Grizzlebrand.
Yeah, but I mean, Reanimator needs more really good, targets.
Oh
It's
yeah.
got it's got plenty of ways to put stuff into the graveyard. It's got plenty of ways to get stuff back out of the graveyard. Like the thing that
Yep.
it's really missing is those super duper powerful cards that just lock the game up. That's usually one of the harder pieces of that deck to find. And of course, there's lots of stuff that you can reanimate, but nothing hits quite so hard as Atraxa or Gristlebrand or these cards
Mhm.
that create these insane amounts of card advantage.
I think there's another deck that it goes into
Oh, what's that?
that doesn't see as much play, and that is the big black deck.
Oh, well, I
This is
mean, you sure?
this is a deck that is sort of the Canadian Highlander version of modern
Mhm.
Cabal coffers,
Yeah.
where it plays like Lake of the Dead,
Yeah,
Cabal
it has a bunch of
coffers.
ways to, make a whole bunch of mana, but also
Yeah,
that deck also has the reanimation stuff in it as well.
it correct,
So
yes,
you can you
but
can you can cast him the hard way, or you could just put him out early with a reanimate.
you got it. It's one of those decks where all of the payloads are big black creatures. This is just another payload that just slots in there because if you can't get it on the front side, you can get it on the back
Yeah,
side.
100%.
I really like it as a payload. I think people are probably sleeping on it as just like a big thing,
Yeah,
but like big things win games, man.
yeah, they absolutely do. Especially this, and I know that you have a personal vendetta against Dothy Voidwalker, so I can't wait to put
Yeah,
this card into play against you, buddy.
I would listen, man. One day Dredge will come out of retirement, but for now, it's just there's no incentive for me
Okay,
I
so
look at
yeah.
Dredge and sigh.
Of course, that is not all of the good cards in Duskmourn, and we want to hear down below.
No,
Hit us in the comments with what cards you want to see, or cards you think are going to be good in Canadian Highlander from Duskmourn. So moving right along, we are going to talk about last thing before we let you go. We're going to talk about the Lawnlander leaderboard, and before we do that, what is Lawnlander, Stefan?
So Lawnlander is the tournament series that runs out of Game Castle in Ankeny, sponsored by OCM. It's been our quarter, so we do an annual tournament every year that has a lead up of quarterly tournaments for qualifiers, where you get points just for attending, and then based on your standing. And then our top 8 players based on overall wins and highest point level for non-winners of tournaments. The top 8 of those players get invited.
Yep, to the
Last
championship
year's
at the end of the
winner,
year.
yeah, last year's winner was Tanner.
Tanner Lighting,
Um,
reigning champion,
yeah,
playing Omnisciative.
yeah,
And what are these players playing for?
a friggin' sword.
A friggin' sword and their share of $1,200 cash.
That is expensive. Yeah.
Tanner took home the sword last year. He's got it in his kitchen right now. We're going to have a new winner this year. And let me pull up the leaderboard right now. There it is. These are the players that are currently in contention for this. So this Saturday it is very tight right now. This Saturday is the last qualifier before the championship. So only one more qualification to be given out. That is, the player that wins this tournament earns a qualification.
Yep.
3 players are already decided. They have won a quarterly leading up to this. Ryan Brown right there, you see him in second place. Won with Naya Monsters, was it?
Yeah, that was the Naya Monsters. That was before Nadu.
Yeah. And Sean O'Dean down there in 10th won with Mono Red Goblins.
Classic Goblins.
Travis Wilcoxon in 3rd place won this most recent one with his medium white deck. So those players, those 3 are already locked. You'll have one more player locked after this tournament, and then the points will get tallied up, and the 4 highest points earners will get the other 4 spots. So Luke in first place with 52 points, pretty likely a lock there.
Yeah.
Some very, very unfortunate stuff would have to happen in order for Luke to not earn this qualification. So we are just going to go ahead and say that Luke is likely locked for this.
He would have to not show up first.
That is specifically one of the things that has to go wrong. Is to not show up. Speaking of not showing up, Ryan Favor will not be able to attend this qualifier. So he's sitting in 4th place right now at 41 points. Now, it is very possible that he is safe. Some things have to go very poorly for Ryan in order for him to get knocked out of this, but one of them is not being able to attend the tournament. So we will see what happens. I am sitting in 5th place with 39 points, followed very, very closely by Jeff Moore. So that is 3 of those 4 spots that are, if we were to fire the tournament right now, those 3 spots would be locked. But there is a 3-way tie for that final spot between Zoe, Mitch, and you, sir, all sitting with 37 points.
Yeah, that's sort of a bit of nail biter.
It is a huge nail biter.
Notably, if another player that has already won wins,
there will be a 5th spot open.
Yeah, there is a 5th spot open. So if Sean, Travis, or Ryan wins again, which it absolutely can happen.
It has happened before, yes.
Yeah, that opens up a fifth sort of wild card slot into the tournament. Everybody wants it. Nobody doesn't want to come.
Right. We've spent the entire year trying to get to this point, and it is really, really coming down to the wire here, and will very likely come down to the results of the top 8 this Saturday. So following up those 3, we've got Jake Scott in 11th, Tom Wu in 12th, Alex Scott in 13th, David Pound in 14th, Joe Aarons in 15th, and rounding us out with the top 16, it is Spencer Dugan. I believe that any player, there are currently 54 players on this scoreboard.
Yep.
And any one of these players or a new player could show up, take down this tournament, and earn a spot. So
that's sort of the beauty, right?
Right. Anybody that's on this list could still qualify for the top 8. So that is this Saturday at Game Castle in Ankeny.
Yeah, come out, come play with us.
And look at that, they can see our faces now.
Hey.
So yeah, if you can't make it out, sucks for you. It's going to be a great time, but we'll be streaming the event on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/oldcrankymancollectibles, exactly the same as you found us here on YouTube. That is
Yes,
also
sir.
that is also linked down in the description. So come watch the stream. It will start at about 10 a.m. Central on Saturday. All right, Stefan, anything else you want to get into before we close out fall?
Get your opponent to 13 life and then play those lands. Or yourself. Get yourself to 13 life. Start playing your untapped duels at common. Why not?
Listen, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn those notifications on so that we get to annoy you every time we upload a video. And with that out of the way, we just want to remind you that we're proud
We're proud
of
of
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.